Long-time viewers will know what's it like humbly started from a caravan as I travelled this great southern land with my family. There's a lot of challenges living in a van, but they are far outweighed by moments of beautiful desolation like playing No Man's Sky under the stars of the outback or making new friends along the way. Caravan SandWitch, yes, witch as in Hocus Pocus, by Plain Toast, is a bit of a different caravanning experience than what I'm used to, so I thought I'd see what it's all about. What's it like? Put on your seatbelt, turn on the AC, and prepare for the end of the world as we review Caravan SandWitch on Nintendo SandSwitch. Before we start out on our adventure, would you mind liking and subscribing? It's the best way for What's It Like to avoid the views apocalypse on YouTube, and I can't thank you enough for doing so. Caravan SandWitch follows Sorge, a former denizen of the planet Sigalo, which has been ravaged by a corporation called the Consortium, who abandoned it after a failed project decimated the planet. You are living on a space station when you receive an emergency SOS message from your sister, who actually died 6 years prior. So begins a deep mystery in returning to the planet and trying to uncover the truth about your sister and the very project that destroyed the planet. The premise hooked me right from the start, and during the course of my 10-hour playthrough, I lost myself in the world of Caravan SandWitch. The game is best described as a cozy, post-apocalyptic treasure hunting game, and you spend most of your time exploring desolate wastes while salvaging various tech to upgrade your van to be able to advance through the story and hopefully unravel the mystery around your sister's sudden reappearance. There's no real gameplay management systems in place like fuel or resources, and progression ties to the amount of salvage you scrap. There are also no enemies, combat, or fall damage to speak of. Now, while you may think that this doesn't sound too great, Caravan SandWitch uses this lack of threat or management to the game's strength, because it allows you to be fully immersed in the world and exploring it. I sort of felt a bit like Wall-E, just taking my time climbing over wreckage to find computer chips and searching high and low for any parts that I could salvage. You'll also enter a Matrix-style world that will allow you to fast travel around the world and unlock codes to get closer to the secret of the failed Project Helios. There are beautiful and unexpected moments like preparing a funeral for a sentient robot's child who is trying to understand human behavior in the tradition of funerals, or collecting toys for the only child left on the planet. The story is further fleshed out with the Toaster, a social network for citizens of the planet, which has characters communicate with you depending on your progress through whatever mission you're on. Sorge will also comment about the items or the ruins you're exploring by reflecting on her childhood memories, which further flesh out both the world and Sorge's character. The game uses a minimalistic, almost cel-shaded art style that does a really good job of creating that sense of isolation on the planet Sigalo. The environment of the planet ranges from dilapidated ruins, slowly succumbing to time, overgrown forests, and vast and desolate desert with a menacing eternal storm lingering in the distance. Characters are varied with their own mannerisms and personalities, and despite the world being sparsely populated, the ones that exist are well written. There's also your van, which playfully rocks as a suspension tries to make your ride as smooth as possible, and you can hear the gravel crunch under your wheels, making cruising around the wasteland a relaxing and enjoyable experience. All of this world building and art style is backed by the absolutely stellar original soundtrack by the artist Antonomy. Acoustic guitars and soft percussion set the cozy vibe, with the occasional French vocals and harmonization that softly cut through the noise to set the mood. It's used sparingly and efficiently, expertly invoking feelings of both isolation and sometimes the comfort that we feel within it. The soundtrack reminds me of my time with the Cub, where the music does more than just fill the silence, it actually elevates the game to an emotional experience, and the score will stay with you a long time after the credits roll. The biggest pitfall for Caravan SandWitch on Switch is that it constantly struggles to maintain a smooth frame rate throughout the entire journey. It's particularly worse when you're in the main settlement hub, but it also stutters when out in the wild too. There are some texture issues and a fair amount of pop-in that can take some of that immersion away. These issues happen to be in both docked and handheld mode, but handheld mode seems to fare slightly better due to its scalable resolution. There are also a few bugs like missions starting and then immediately restarting because you've lost your way. You don't really lose any progress, just an odd start I suppose. Despite this, I still couldn't put the game down, and I wanted to see how the mystery unfolded. For my nomads looking into accessibility options, I'm pleased to report that Caravan SandWitch offers several options to help you enjoy the game more. There's a motion sickness reduction mode displaying a black dot to help keep you centered while stabilizing the camera more and opening the field of view. There's also an accessibility radar which you can ping objects of interest within a certain radius to offer both a visual and audio cue to assist. There's also just simple audio cues. You're also able to set the minimap to a fixed or relative position, adjust your audio cues separately from the main volume options, and remap most of your controls. It's great to see accessibility options like this on a smaller budget game, but as always, I recommend further research into finding out whether Caravan SandWitch suits your needs. Caravan SandWitch is far from perfect on the Nintendo Switch, and the performance issues will certainly put many players off, which is a shame. It will reward players with a beautiful narrative about a devastated world, friendship, and loss. The lack of threat doesn't really dull that sense of urgency due to the way that the narrative is fleshed out, both in progression and the toaster social system. Its superb soundtrack that's used sparingly helps emotionally invest you in the game and will stay with you long after the credits roll. Caravan SandWitch is much like the planet of Sigalo. It can be rough and a little messy, but there's moments of beauty and hope that ultimately make it an unforgettable adventure. So, what's it like? Caravan SandWitch is like my time at Sandrock, crossed with a road trip through the apocalypse. I award it a 74 out of 100. In the interest of full disclosure, a review copy was provided by the publisher, but this does not influence my score. Thanks so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. The best way you can support me is to like and subscribe and continue watching my content if you enjoy it. But if you do want to go that bit extra, you can buy me a coffee or join our Patreon, which shows you behind the scenes of this channel. Thanks again.